How do you get through to a Trumper? How do you get through to the Trumpla cult? You don't. The simple answer is you don't. I know you don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. You don't. Even with right now, some of the people I know that are cult members, and I'm calling you guys a cult, and I'll get into why you're a cult, but you're on the verge of losing your jobs because of the cuts that some multi-billionaire is making who has no real authority, but he bought the presidency, right? And you're freaking out, and yet you don't want to admit that it's Donald Trump that did this to you. Why? Why? It doesn't make any sense. I've got Dem friends that are just totally beyond, like, confused. How come you don't understand? And really, this is for everybody. This is for all the liberals, too. Why don't they understand? It's simple. I win, I win, I win. I win, I win, I win. That's all it's about. They just want to win. Donald Trump has them completely convinced that being a bully, being an asshole wins. Period. And every time that you give up, you stop arguing with them, you walk away from the conversation, you've had enough, you're fed up, you don't want to have the conversation because they go from you tried to reason with them, they start name calling. You continue to try and reason with them, they call you more names. They get more vile. If you get in the mud with them, because I have done this, because I have tested this over and over and over again, if you get in the mud with them and you get just as vile back, every time, they step it up, you step it up. Eventually, you might break them down to where they'll go back to trying to have a regular conversation. But then we're right back to the same point where we're having a conversation about shit they don't know about. They're regurgitating headlines. They're regurgitating the stuff that they've overheard basically while they play Fox News or OAN on repeat nonstop. Their entire life practically revolves around listening to this in a 2-hour cycle. It's just repeat every 2 hours. Different top mouthpieces, but the exact same verbiage over and over and over again. The exact same message. They are being programmed to just regurgitate a sentence at you. And that's all they can do. So talking sense to them isn't going to work. Why would it? They don't know what they're talking about. We all know that. Now, if you're a Trumper, you don't know that. But the rest of us all know you don't have a freaking clue what you're talking about. The only answer is to keep arguing. Because ultimately, eventually, one of the two of the people in the conversation, online or in person, is going to have to stop. And if the person who actually knows what they're talking about, whether you want to call them a libtard or a Dem or oh, you're not really American, insinuating racial slurs, whatever you digress into. The bottom line is you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And if you give up, if you're the liberal, Democrat, moderate, real libertarian, true libertarian, not the far right crazies that think of themselves as libertarians because that kind of justifies their vote for Trump in their own little weird way, then the only way you win the argument is just to keep arguing until they stop. That's it. And you're not worried about them per se. You're never changing their mind. They've been completely brainwashed. They've listened to that stuff for over a decade on repeat, over and over and over again. You're only worried about the peanut gallery. Whoever is listening in, whoever is reading, just sitting there, like every so often you used to see those memes where the guy would be like, they'd put that meme up showing somebody eating popcorn, right? The goal was to win the argument. That's all that matters to them. And the bottom line is they're losing now. The rest of us are losing. We're all losing. right? Egg prices didn't go down, they went up because those idiots fired the scientists. They're supposed to control the spread of the bird flu from chicken farm to chicken farm. They fired all of them. Morons. So eggs actually didn't go down in price. Oh, eggs prices would go back down below where they even normally were. Yeah, no. Now a dozen eggs is $10. I don't remember a dozen eggs ever being more than $2 to $3. And that was when the economy was at its worst. So now eggs have gone up for a dozen eggs from like $7 to $10 to $12. And you guys don't see the problem? All of the tariffs alone are driving up our prices. Seriously. Farmers losing their farms because their money was cut off almost immediately too. Welfare, single mothers who basically count on welfare and they count on supplemental income benefits from the welfare system. They count on food for their, food stamps for their children, EBT. Fuck around and find out, right? But you can talk to these exact same people until they're freaking out like that. And even when you do, they're like, oh, I'm still Trumper. He's screwing you over. How are you still a Trumper? Oh, it's not him. It's not. So when you claimed it was Biden's fault for the economy, it wasn't his fault either, right? It's just nonsensical. We have these arguments with them over and over and over again. But here's the only thing that matters. That you stick around for the argument until you win. Until they walk away. That's literally how we stop it. And it's the only thing that stops it. In other words, you get in there and you got to accept, and I mean seriously accept, that every argument that you have is not about winning with them. For them, it's about winning against you. But for you, it's about winning the peanut gallery. And you can't stop until they stop. It's exhausting. It can't be. You might take a day or two off from it because you just like, I don't want to listen to this crap anymore. You finally got them to back off, so now you gotta take a break. But we don't win by saying anything of substance, unfortunately. We can have those substance conversations with each other. We can talk about why it's important that the Dems start acting like they got more backbone. We can talk about why it's important that the judges stop a lot of the illegal actions that the Trump administration is taking. You and me, average Joe, we can have those conversations. But the cult members, the only conversation you're really needing to have is for them to walk away before you do. That's all they're trying to do. They want to win the argument. And they don't care that they have no idea what they're talking about. As long as you walk away, they won the argument anyway. As always, think about it. Peace.